Hey, what is up everybody, it's ℂ𝕂𝔻𝔻 here for Anime Uproar, and the MHA finale continues to get darker and darker, and in more ways than one. The idealistic hero story that we used to know is completely gone. The final arc is getting more and more intense, and the pressure of such a monumental arc may be getting to horikoshi, so let's talk about it. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy my MHA content and you'd like to see more in the future, leave a quick like and comment right now. It helps me out with that YouTube algorithm. And if you watch my videos regularly, but you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, do me a big favor and make this the video that you subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. Finally, this video will of course contain MHA manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. In the previous chapter, we saw that all the Todorokis are now finally going to be together in one place, but it is not a happy reunion. Dabi is on the verge of killing himself in a massive thermal explosion, and if this explosion goes off, Dabi's entire family will be killed right along with him. Not to mention the thousands of other people within a 5-kilometer radius of Dabi's current location. And the more this final Todoroki showdown progresses, the more likely it seems that someone's death is inevitable. As I said in my last video, the most likely scenarios are that either just Dabi dies, or Dabi and Endeavor die, but the other Todorokis survive. I think the latest chapter basically confirms my prediction, but let's start at the beginning. As the new chapter gets going, we see that Ida's engines have completely crumbled. He pushed himself beyond plus ultra in order to get Shoto to Gunga as soon as possible. And although he succeeded, and all credit to him, there is a physical price that he must pay for overexerting himself so much. This is as far as Ida can go, and that is when Shoto takes over. He uses Flashfire Fist Phosphor to propel the ice jet forward, balancing both heat and ice in order to reach speeds that break the sound barrier. Essentially, Shoto and Ida in their makeshift ice plane are now moving as quickly as a modern fighter jet. This is a fact that's easy to just scroll by while you're reading the chapter, but it's pretty insane when you think about it. Tsukauchi is watching Shoto and Ida's approach, and he remembers how All Might specifically told him that two quirks would be crucial for averting disaster at Gunga: half hot, half cold, and engine. Tsukauchi acknowledges that All Might has become a truly diligent teacher, and that he really knows his students, including their character and their most important strengths. As Ida and Shoto finally arrive at Gunga, Shoto leaves Ida on the ground and proceeds towards Dabi on his own. Ida tells Shoto that, thanks to him, he finally became the person that he had always wanted to be, and Ida tells Shoto that it's now time for him to do the same. As Shoto rushes towards Dabi and the fiery battlefield, we get a brief flashback that reveals what Shoto has been telling his mother in the letters that he had sent her during her stay in that mental institution. We see Shoto telling his mother that he is trying to reach the level of his classmates, which might surprise you at first because Shoto has always been one of the strongest students with one of the most powerful quirks. But then we realize that Shoto isn't talking about strength. Shoto is strong, but he struggles with other things that most of his classmates don't have a problem with. Things like socializing and being friends and just talking to each other. Shoto is trying to have conversations with his classmates every day, and even though sometimes these conversations lead to arguments, in the end, these arguments help them all to understand each other better. Sometimes his friends and classmates get angry and even cry, and sometimes it's not even about something that happened to them, but they are crying for the sake of others. This is what Shoto aspires to, and even though he knows that it will be difficult, he vows to do his best. Again, it might seem odd at first that Shoto is so concerned with such basic things like having conversations and understanding his classmates and forming friendships and having basic empathy, but we can't forget how he was raised. At a very young age, his father isolated him from everyone, including his own siblings, and raised him to be the strongest hero at all costs. Shoto had plenty of physical training and battle practice as a kid, but he didn't have any practice with socializing, making friends, and feeling empathy for others. Shoto recognizes that this is his weakness, and he is doing his best to improve in these areas that for many of us just come completely naturally. This is a clear reminder of what a difficult childhood Shoto had, and how much he missed out on in exchange for becoming as strong as he is. And after everything he went through, and after his father raised him to value strength above all other things, I think it's incredible that Shoto didn't become an egomaniac obsessed with power. Instead, he is actively trying to relate to others, and to have empathy, and to form friendships. He doesn't think that he's better than his classmates. In fact, he realizes that in many ways they are better than him and he needs to catch up. This truly speaks to Shoto's impeccable character. No amount of trauma can corrupt him and turn him into a bad person because he's such a good person. Then, finally, Shoto arrives on the battlefield, where it looks like Dabi is literally just about to explode and take Endeavor and everyone else out with him. Shoto calls out to his brother, and in that moment, Shoto is both the fierce hero student he is now, and the small kid who just wants his big brother to acknowledge him. Shoto still has so many things to say and to get off his chest, both to his brother and to everyone else. But first, he has to prevent this horrible explosion from happening. And so, Shoto unleashes his ultimate attack, Great ℂ𝕂𝔻𝔻. This is a move that Shoto already used on Dabi once, and this time it seems to be even more powerful than before. Basically, Shoto builds up both his ice and fire powers to their absolute maximum using Flash Fire Fist Phosphor. And then he rushes at his opponent and smashes them with a huge wave of cold fire that covers everything around it in ice. When he used this on Dabi and Kamino, he was able to extinguish his flames, at least temporarily. And this time, the attack looks even stronger. This time, it doesn't look like a huge wave of cold fire, it looks like a cold fire explosion that consumes everything around it. Thanks to the reporters filming from the air, everyone watches live as Shoto's cold fire bomb goes off, and the world is stunned. When the dust clears, or I guess I should say when the icy fog clears, Shoto is still standing. Dabi and Endeavor are both lying on the ground, barely conscious, with the other Todorokis sitting close by. Rei, Fuyumi, and Natsu are injured, but clearly alive and conscious. Dabi's fire has seemingly been extinguished, and the thermal explosion he almost caused has been averted. A clearly exhausted Shoto says that on his own, his great ℂ𝕂𝔻𝔻 would not have been able to do this. Dabi's flames were even hotter now than they were at Kamino. But this time, Shoto had the help of his mother, sister, and brother Natsu, who were all using their own powerful ice quirks to back up his ice quirk attack. Shoto says that on his own, he would not have been able to match Dabi's firepower. So maybe he's not such a masterpiece after all. Maybe Dabi was always stronger than Shoto. Maybe Dabi was always the masterpiece after all, he just wasn't aware of it. Meanwhile, Dabi seems to be on the verge of death. Like, seriously, he looks like he's about to die any second. His body seems to be seconds away from crumbling into literal dust. But he is still somehow able to speak, and he says that they should all just die and perish, especially Endeavor. But Endeavor still isn't giving up on his son, Toya. He crawls up closer to Toya, and he apologizes once again. He says he is truly sorry for not going to Sekoto Peak that day. But Dabi, aka Toya, says that he hates his dad and his entire family. And Sever says that it's okay, he will listen to everything that Toya wants to say to him. Endeavor also apologizes to Rei for pushing her past her limit, to Fuyumi for putting everything on her shoulders, and to Natsu for neglecting him. Finally, he apologizes to his youngest son Shoto for everything that he did to him, for everything that his blind obsession with surpassing All Might made him do. The final page features Toga looking in the direction of the Todoroki family and wondering whether Toya was able to smile in the end. This seems to imply that Toya really is about to die, or at least Toga believes that he is. Oh, and I almost missed this when I was reading the chapter the first time, but Toga calls him Toya-kun here. She doesn't call him Dabi. This isn't something that I think about often, but the fact that Toga calls Dabi Toya-kun is pretty important. She has only ever known him as the villain Dabi, and Dabi himself kept saying how Toya is dead and only Dabi exists now. And yet Toga still feels that his true identity is Toya, not Dabi. That's definitely an interesting detail for me, but moving on. The chapter ends as a fierce-looking Ochako continues to fight against Toga and the ongoing Sad Man's Parade. And so we are left with the mystery of whether this really is the end for Dabi, and probably also Endeavor, or if something could still happen to somehow save their lives. I'll be honest, Endeavor's apologies to each of his family members individually definitely seemed like a big death flag. It almost seemed like he was saying goodbye to all of them individually before he inevitably dies alongside Toya. I mean, Horikoshi could still flip the script somehow and have Endeavor survive, but from what we've seen so far, it definitely seems like this is the end for Endeavor. And of course, in terms of Toya, the death flags are absolutely everywhere. He looks like he's barely alive at this point, so unless he has some sort of super regeneration cheat code hidden away somewhere, this is likely the end for him. Do you guys agree with me that Toya and Endeavor are likely going to die here? Or do you think that one or maybe even both of them could survive? What would you want to happen, and what do you think would be the best for the story? Don't get me wrong, I think Endeavor is an amazing character overall, the best written character in MHA, but I kind of feel like his story would be better and more complete if he really did die here, as he finally atones for his sins. Agree, disagree, let me know down below. Whatever happens, it's clear that Toya and Endeavor are out of the war for good. So what does this mean for the other battlefields? We just saw Toga again at the end of the chapter, so does this mean that she's about to be taken off the board as well, and then it's just All For One and Shigaraki? I mean, the arc has to end sometime, so maybe this is when the dominoes truly begin to fall, and the villains are defeated one by one. This is of course a shonen, so the heroes will win in the end. The only question is how heavy is the price that the heroes will ultimately have to pay for their victory. Finally, as you might have noticed, the MHA manga has taken several unplanned, sudden breaks recently, and many are speculating that this is related to Horikoshi's health. Personally, I don't have any inside info or anything, but if Horikoshi really is having health issues, then he should absolutely prioritize his health. Like, yeah, we all love this series and we can't wait to see what happens next, but at the end of the day, this is just a story, and Horikoshi is a real person, so he has to put his health first. We can wait. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more MHA content in the future, leave a quick like and comment right now, it helps me out a lot. And if you've gotten this far into the video but you still haven't subscribed, do me a big favor and subscribe right now and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at ℂ𝕂𝔻𝔻. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.